Hello everyone, we are here tonight to interview Stephenie Rodriguez. Without further ado, I invite Stephenie if she's in Stephenie, if you are in our audience, please send me a request. Hi Stephenie, hi. Lady Stephenie Rodriguez. Hi Stephenie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation for this live tonight. It's an honor to have you in my page.
It's an honor to be here.
Thanks.
I just told everyone on my timeline to come join us. So I just went in and made a quick live and said, I'm going on Nadia's timeline, come and join us. So I invited a whole other group to this chat and this discussion. So I hope they join us.
Yeah, we are here with a group of lovely people watching us tonight. Please introduce yourself to my followers. I'm very honored to know you in person. I would like everyone else to know you.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Stephenie Rodriguez. I'm a Latina. My parents come from Puerto Rico, which is in the Caribbean. I have been in Australia now since 1997. I'm a serial entrepreneur, but more importantly, I'm on a personal mission to impact 1 billion lives by 2025 and democratize safety in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I do this through the work that I do with a startup that I created called WanderSafe, and the work that we're doing around the world with NGOs and companies and women to empower women to stay safe so that they can live a life more productive in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is a better planet by 2030.
Oh wow, that's a big mission.
It is.
A couple of days ago, I was looking at this Blue Origin thing that they're sending people to the space, and when I was trying to fill out the application, every question that I went through, I remember you, and I was like, oh my God, if Stephenie was filling out this form, she had all the answers ready. And this is a very thing to have, to know your mission in life. Tell us, how did you come up with it?
Well, nothing worth having is easy, and we know that.
For sure.
But how I got into this space was by a series of serendipitous experiences. Hang on one second, Nadia. I have a talking chair, and she makes comments. She says, I'm here. She does. I'm going to unplug her because she's very disruptive. One second. She drives me crazy. She goes, I'm here. Her name is Alice. Like it's the psychotic chick. It's technology, but she hears a voice, and so she responds that she's there. So I literally do have a talking massage chair in my house, and she just keeps saying, I'm here. Drives me crazy. So how did I get into this? Well, as I said, a series of serendipitous experiences. I was in Africa, in Kenya in 2015 for an organization called the Edmund Rice Foundation. And what they do is that they run programs in developing countries around the world. And I was invited to go and evaluate the programs with a group of Australian entrepreneurs. And we went to Kenya, to Nairobi. And in Kenya, in Nairobi, there are large slums. Like the one we visited was the Makulu slums. The Makulu slums have more than 2 million people living in poverty in such a subspace. They're unaccounted for. They don't have sanitation, running water, any infrastructure. The police don't even go in there. It's so bad that the police stay away. So we went there, and we were looking at the hospitals and the other programs. And there were these 2 young ladies, and they were teaching martial arts. And I invited them to dinner, and I sat down with them, and I said, why are you doing this? And they explained that they were teaching martial arts to the women of the slums because if a young lady was raped, then most likely she would, one, catch HIV, and secondly, get pregnant because there was no contraception. And then she would be discarded. She would have no access to education. She would be less than garbage in that culture. And that was pretty amazing for me to wrap my head around. Further, I witnessed in one of the days young ladies with their heads shaved, dressed androgynously like boys, walking to school. And I asked again, why is this? And it was explained to me that the families dress their daughters like this so that they are indiscernible as far as their gender from a distance. So you cannot tell if it's a boy or a girl. And homosexuality is very frowned on in that culture. So you wouldn't dare, if it was a boy and you are a man, to approach a young man. So this reason for, making these young ladies show up like this was really, quite powerful. So this happened in 2015, but there was also my own experience of working in digital transformation. So I have a tech background, and being in Geneva for a client, and I arrived very late at night. I had booked my hotel on the internet, as many of us do who book our own accommodation when we're traveling. And I arrived at my hotel very late, went to sleep, woke up in the morning, got up, no makeup, put on my tracksuit, and I was going to go for a run around Lake Geneva before I got ready for work. It was very early, like 7 a.m. And I get in the elevator, and I'm on the top floor. And the next floor, the door opens, a big man, much larger than me, and I'm pretty tall. He gets into the elevator, he puts his hands on my shoulders, and he says, "How much or do I take?" And it took me a minute to work out what he meant. But by the time the elevator got all the way to zero, I had a very clear understanding, and I was being propositioned. And I ran under his arms, broke free, went outside, and caught my breath. And I realized then that my hotel was in the middle of the red light district of Geneva. And most people don't even know that Geneva has an area that has prostitution in it. I didn't know. But what angered me about that experience was that the website that I booked my hotel on, when it had all the reviews about good Wi-Fi, clean sheets, good location, blah, 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 nowhere did it say not safe for a woman traveling alone. And had I been a
point.
Exactly. So the lack of information, and me seeing my sisters, other women around the world, fearing for their lives just to go to school and work, was the kind of the genesis moment of me to pivot away from being in consulting in a private practice, quite successful, and into taking on a much larger global mission, which was to address this aspect of personal safety.
Yeah, wow. It's definitely a big need in this area to address all the unsafety of women all around the world. And one thing that is really exciting and I found it really interesting is the application that you're working on it, which is alongside with the same mission that you have and all these stories about women's safety. So I would like you to tell us more about WonderSafe, because women all around the world are facing this trouble every day.
The WonderSafe Beacon application is free. How old am I? Someone's asking in the chat. I'm old enough to be some of you's mother. Let's put it that way. I just saw that. I can't read the Arabic, but I can see that.
Oh my God.
Yes, I can see the chat, but I can't read Arabic. So for the English, I did see that asking me my age.
No,
Pardon?
It's actually in Persian.
Persian, right?
Yeah.
But I can't read Persian nor Arabic, so two languages I don't speak. But yes, I did see the English, and I'm old enough to be Nadia's mother. Put it that way. I know how old Nadia is, and I'm old enough to be her mother. So there you go. How does the WonderSafe Beacon app work? It's free to download, and it can be used anywhere in the world. We have users in 57 countries, and how it works is you download it, you set it up, and you appoint contacts that you decide who you'd want to know in the event that you were in a situation that you felt unsafe. The app has a series of functions around tagging things safe and unsafe. So you can say, if you feel safe, you can take a photo and leave a tip, and we call it a tip, but you can leave a tip for someone else to say, oh, no, you don't want to go down this road, or you don't want to be here at night, or you don't want to go in this business. It's a little bit shady, dodgy. So you can do these things. But the main and most important feature that we love and we started was the ability to signal for help. So If you're in the event that you are in trouble, you can either set up a voice code, like a code word. We call it a code word, but you can make some word that Siri in your language or Google understands. For example, hairy banana. I would never use hairy banana in my regular conversation. But if this was my crisis phrase, I could say, you know, hey Google, hairy banana. And if I said that, without the person in front of me who might be my potential oppressor knowing what I mean, it would open up the app from a locked screen, and it would start sending text messages to the people I put in the app to be my emergency contacts. So it's not going to call your whole phone list. It's not going to call the police, because we know that in certain situations, we don't want the police called, but rather maybe a family member, a flatmate, a coworker, to say, you know, I'm in trouble. Can you please come and intervene? So it allows someone to know where you are. We have special technology that not only, because in some places in the world, and I've been to 60 countries, Nadia, so I understand, some places in the world, you don't actually know where you are. You know, you
Yeah.
can't read the signs. Like if I was in Iran and I couldn't read Farsi, I would not know what I was reading. You know, I couldn't
Yeah.
say, oh, I'm at the corner of 5th and Main. I have no idea. So to be able to be accurately located, we use technology that you can be accurately located within 3 meters. So
Wow.
every square meter of the planet is mapped in this way. And it gives you 3 words that can be given to police who use what 3 words is called, this technology, this interface, to be able to locate you. So if you're hiking or camping or on the beach or somewhere that doesn't have a street address, it can be a way that you can be found with accuracy. And the app signals people within 10 seconds of activation. So if I activated it and Nadia, you are my contact, you would get a text message that says Stephenie is in trouble. She is here, and with a link. The link opens up the app and shows you where I am. If I'm running away from someone, like in a physical chase environment, then it would show you that I went here and I turned here and I went there, and it updates every minute, 60 seconds, until I turn it off. So it has the ability to have a little swipe. It can be done discreetly and silently. But if, let's say, my phone is on the table and someone is intimidating me, I can use my voice command that I've set up in the app to activate the WanderSafe SOS protocols. So, I mean, we built something really, really simple. It does these things. You can help to make the world safer by using the app and telling, you know, others what to be careful of in the app. You can search locations, like you're going to go rent an Airbnb somewhere. You can go and search locations. But more importantly, in the situation of domestic violence or gender-based violence, you can call for help and know that somebody's going to respond and see your call for help quickly. Your phone, in the hardware that's built into your phone, will call the police or your emergency SOS contact. But you don't get to set up so many. And you can change them around. Let's say you're traveling and you want to add your parents or your coworker if you're at work on a work trip. You can change it. So it gives you the flexibility of managing your safety contacts anytime you want. But it's Wander, WANDER,
Oh,
WanderSafe, all one word, the WanderSafe Beacon app in Google and in iOS. WanderSafe.
yeah. I'll put the right one. Is this a correct?
Yeah, the WanderSafe Beacon is the
Yeah.
app.
So everybody can have a look at the application, and it's really good because it's working everywhere. No matter where you are, you can just activate it with your phone number, and as it's working with GPS. So
Yeah, it works with the hardware of the phone. So it
yeah.
doesn't track you. So note that it does not track you. We, as the app developers, we do not know where you are. We can see your tips if you leave tips.
Mm-hmm.
Little note, the app has gamification. So as you leave tips for others, you get points. And so you begin to rise on the leaderboard as the WanderSafe hero. So
So
you
that's
can be the hero in your village, in your city, in your community for helping others, which we think is a bit of fun. So we built some fun little features inside the app that make it more, more friendly. Yes, it's in the Apple Store. WanderSafe Beacon, BEACON, like a light, a beacon of hope, a signal. So the app is called WanderSafe Beacon for
wonderful.
the person.
Yeah. One thing else that I wanted to mention is, oh, I just lost the track of my mind. Is oh, I just saw the application today that even for safe places, like people that are in a safe place, is they saying like, okay, this place, this Wanda Junction is safe now, in
Mm-hmm.
different hours, and that definitely can help people to travel, especially women travel around the city safer. It's even for, even men can use that. It's just like to build a safer community, right?
Mm-hmm. It's for anyone, and for parents who might be older who don't want to live with their children. They want to stay independent, but the children want to make sure the parent is safe. And just with Alzheimer's or any other senior ailments, that they can, if they're in trouble, they can't find their car, they're wandering around, or they have a fall. And that's a
Yeah,
very common thing with senior parents, is if they they fall down in the apartment or where they live, that they can actually say, I'm here, and know exactly where they are and call for help, even with no hands. So we really
great.
thought about who would be able to use the app, both for work, for school, for commuting, and in situations where there might be domestic violence.
Oh, that's such a brilliant idea. And Stephanie, I'm a big fan of TEDx talks. And I have to say, I'm really impressed that you are speaking, and I watched that video many times. Tell us about how you got into the TEDx and your journey with the TEDx talk, and even some highlights of your talk.
Well, I don't want to give the talk away, because I'd love
Yeah.
everyone here to go watch it
Mm-hmm.
and leave a comment.
Uh, I,
And
I highly,
pardon?
highly it.
Yeah, well, I was going to make a little offer to who's watching this video now, that if they go and watch the video and leave a comment and then go into my DMs and tag me in it, then I will send them a WanderSafe Shakti beacon. So, and that it's for the first 50 viewers. So if they go and watch my TED Talk, and you can find it searching my name as it's spelled and TEDx, and watch it and leave a comment on the platform, and then go to my DMs and tell me, I will send them a WanderSafe Shakti beacon. But so, and there's a value to that, because we retail these Shakti beacons for 50 Australian dollars, but there's also shipping. So it's quite a high value item. But I would love to incentivize your audience to be safer and empower them. So I wanted to give a gift, but before we get into that, I'll talk about my TEDx journey a little bit. So my last trip before, now we haven't talked about my journey
Yes.
and my transformation. So I think I have to kind of go back to go forward. To get to TED, I need to talk about Africa a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Um, in 2019, I was invited to Hive Africa, and ironically enough, my tea is in the coffee cup. Hive Africa. So I was invited to speak in Nigeria at Hive Africa, and I spoke about collaboration, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and I taught a workshop. And I was in Africa, and then I went to India for 1 week to do exactly the same thing with Hive India. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had been bitten by a mosquito in Africa, and it gave me the world's deadliest parasite. And I traveled back to Australia and then on to Boston, which was the equivalent of traveling 40,000 kilometers in 2 weeks. So it's very taxing on the body, like jet lag and pressure and pressurization. So when I got to Boston, I thought I had some airplane flu. I was fluey because of too much recycled air in the plane, and climates and whatever. And I was very tired. But I didn't know that I was carrying this parasite. And the parasite threw me into a coma. I spent 2 weeks in the coma. And during that time, 3 times the doctors told my family that I was going to die, like within 5 minutes. So it was a very life death situation. I miraculously woke up because, God is good, and would then begin this very long journey. But when I woke up from the coma, I was paralyzed. and I couldn't even scratch my nose. I was atrophied. My body had shut down everything completely. So my TED Talk is about this journey of having been to Africa and me being on this mission, and then what I learned about going through this big trauma and this almost 3 year trial in
Always
Nigeria.
when you talk about it.
It's just such a miracle story.
Sorry.
But in Nigeria, when I was there, I met this beautiful woman named Dr. Naomi Osemedua. And Naomi is a coach, and we had this kismet. We just like met and loved each other, kind of like you and I. You just meet and you just fall in love, So Dr. Naomi and I met at Hive Africa, and we were like, we're going to work together. We want to change the world, all of these things. And somebody asked about vaccines and Hive Africa. I'll talk about that when I get done with this. So Dr. Naomi and I said, we're going to work together. But then I had gone on to India, back to Australia, to Boston, and then I was off the grid. And I literally, because when I woke up from the coma, I couldn't even scratch my nose. I couldn't open my laptop. I couldn't send an email. I couldn't send a text message. I couldn't do anything. And that my body was terribly damaged from this trauma. And so, Naomi and I didn't get to start working together. I was meant to be in Africa for UN Day for the Eradication of Violence Against Women, which is November 25th. I didn't make that speaking engagement. It was the beginning of a very long hospital recovery, but Naomi and I still had this connection. And so when I started to getting a little bit better from my prolonged hospital, and for those listening, I've now spent about 437 days in the hospital since, yes, the app works in Iran. Unless it's embargoed, which I don't know that it is. I have not heard that it doesn't work there. So if it is, please tell me. But to my best knowledge, it does work in Iran. So this long journey of recovery, Dr. Naomi and I were talking, and she said, I want to nominate you for TED. And I said, I'm not ready. I'm still, getting better and getting confidence back. And she said, no, you're ready. And I said, no, I'm not. And she made me apply. And the application process involves a 700-word essay and a 2-minute submission video where you articulate your idea worth spreading. And it went to a submission, and due to COVID, it kept getting delayed. And then this year, in December, it was announced, the speakers, and I was selected. But my TED Talk was in South Africa. So I literally had to fly all the way back to the African continent to give my TED Talk, which was interesting and challenging.
How did you feel when you went back there?
Nervous, because knowing that I had been beaten there in Africa, and I wasn't fearful because I don't believe in my heart of hearts that God kept me alive to kill me with COVID or anything else. Like, I'm here because I have work to do, and I hadn't finished the mission. So I didn't believe, that like fear of getting bit by a mosquito a second time, like lightning striking twice. I was not afraid of that at all. That was not my worry. I was more, concerned about, and for those who are listening who haven't seen the photo, Nadia, I don't know if you posted the photo before of me.
Sure.
Pardon?
Then when we finished, it will be uploaded on the cover of this live.
All right. So for those who are watching that don't know, a year ago on March 31st of last year, because of the damages done to my body, I had to have both of my feet amputated above the ankle. So I am a bilateral osseo-integrated amputee. So I don't have any ankles and I have bionic feet. And my fear of returning to Africa was more related to my personal safety as a disabled person in such a country that had challenges as far as women's safety, because I cannot run. So if somebody were to come to me and I would be out and alone and vulnerable, I would be in big trouble because of my disability now. So it was the first time back to the African continent. which was a little bit scary. But I was, you know, so thankful and filled with joy to get to realize these things on my bucket list. And I have two big goals on my bucket list. One of them was to give a TED talk, and the second one is to win a Nobel Peace Prize for solving the problem of safety in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Now, that is a big goal. You know, that's like, I'm not, you know, I'm not, what's her name? You know, the
It's
one I'm talking about.
I was like, oh God, I wish
Yeah.
it.
My name is not Malala, you know, it isn't. And I wish it were, but it isn't. And I address a problem that affects women, not just in developing countries, not just in Muslim countries, but everywhere. From Australia to Afghanistan to Puerto Rico to the United States to Spain to Brazil. You know, this problem affects women everywhere. Violence against women comes in many forms. It comes in the form of coercion. It comes in the form of cyberbullying. It comes in the form of sexual harassment. It comes in the form of violence, like domestic violence. In Nigeria, where I was, Nadia, before I got injured, 10,000 women and girls a day are sexually assaulted a day. Multiply that times 365. That is a lot. So I knew why I was there in the beginning. And to take this mission of creating change, to create impact, is really, you know, my why. And that's why I believe God spared my life. And I believe I'm still here. So I wasn't afraid to go back to Africa thinking, oh no, another mosquito, you know, what else? You know, I don't fear really anything because I know I'm here for a reason. But it was a little, how am I going to travel? How am I going to navigate things as a newly disabled person?
Yeah, I totally understand. Well, my another question that just popped in my head now is, where did you come up with the idea of Wonder Safe along this journey? When was the first one?
Well, we originally, our parent company is called Jozu for Women. So Jozu for Women is a parent corporation, and we named ourselves Jozu for Women because Jozu is a Japanese word that means well done or better than. So we knew that we wanted to make travel for women better and safer. So we named our company this beautiful, you know, Japanese word. Uh, I had an ex-boyfriend who was Japanese who taught me the word. So I learned it from him, and I actually asked him if I could use it to name my company. And with his blessing, I named the company Jozu for Women. But it was with this mission of creating a place where women could access travel information better and safer, so that they could, you know, be on their journey. And went to the Silicon Valley. So we were fortunate enough to get selected to go into a women's startup program in Silicon Valley in 2017. And when we went, there were a bunch of, you know, dare I say it, white male VCs who were like, this Jozu for Women thing, we don't really see it. You know, how can you monetize it? It's not a real business and all of this. And they said, you need to think about a different name because Jozu is not a good name. Nobody knows what it means. No one knows what Trivago means either. Hulu, what is Hulu? You know, like there's a lot of companies and startups that don't have, and their name means nothing, but they just picked on mine. So they didn't like Jozu. They said, oh, you know, your business model, you need to productize. And so we got our business model shot like holes in it. So it made me come back and go into an R&D mode with my co-founder and really look at what versus what we thought we were going to be, how we could create the greatest value. And in startups, and that's the space where I work in, you know, in looking at creating the greatest value, you know, we then took the feedback. Of course, I was crying. You didn't like the name of my baby. It's like saying someone's baby is ugly, you know? So I was like, oh, you know, no one likes the name of my baby. But we took this and we, you know, we thought about it and we reviewed it. And we came up with the idea of the value we created and naming our company based on the value. What problem could we solve? And Wander Safe is a really clear, you know, solution. When you say, what does it do? It helps you wander safe. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. Bravo, you know, it's like really. So that's exactly how we, you know, got really simple. The KISS principle, keep it simple. And that's what we did. And, you know, it's become it aligned with the Jozu core values because we established our corporate culture and our core values at the very beginning on what we stood for and how we operated as a startup. And this was aligned with all of those core values. So we didn't have to pivot away from our why in order to achieve what we set to do. We needed to rename ourselves and do a bit of repackaging, but we didn't have to change our why, our mission, or our vision. So that was a very beautiful thing.
So it was a very useful rebranding kind of, because now it's very clear.
Well, the other thing that we did was we productized ourselves. And when I was talking about the beacons, I want to show them because this is an interesting thing. Now, when I was discussing safety, because we honed in on the safety part of our value proposition. And a friend of mine, Lindsay, she writes books. She was working with an author, and she's a part of the startup community. She said, I'm working with a guy who was in the CIA for 27 years. He's a safety expert in the CIA. Steph, if you want to know about safety, you should talk to Thomas. So I rang him, got a call with him, a Zoom, started talking to him about safety, because this was what we wanted to build and do, was to keep women and vulnerable people safe. So I called him and I said, Thomas, tell me about safety. He says the CIA teach that safety comes down to three things: information, environmental awareness, and equipment. And when he said, because the first two I understood very clear, said third, equipment. I said, like guns and tasers? He said, no, silly. He said something much simpler than that. The first thing you learn in CIA training is to fight with light, because bad things happen in the dark. So if you're walking and it's dark, and more things happen in the dark than they do in the day, so in knowing like time of day matters, to empower yourself, have a flashlight at the ready. I was like, that's pretty easy. And he said, but none of us do, we don't walk around with flashlights. He said, secondly, if you can use light to distract someone, that disconnects their ocular nerve overrides their brain signal. So if my eyes are seeing something distracting, my brain loses its train of thought to its intention. So, that sounds crazy. And then he said, if you can make a loud noise and attract attention, then because sometimes if we are really scared, it's called the silent scream. We're unable to scream. So being able to even call for help sometimes is impossible. So I listened to all that he was saying to me, wrote it all down. Then I went and I drew something on a piece of hotel stationery that would become the prototype for what we then found a CAD developer. So how those points of what he told me made sense to me came down to something that looks like this. And it's very simple. It's very low tech, high impact. But the first feature, let me turn it on. I don't know if it's charged. The first feature is that it has a light, it has a strobe, and it has a siren all built into it. But it also works with the app to signal for help, because it has a big Bluetooth button that in the event that I'm in trouble, I can signal using Bluetooth and activate the app to call for help. So, some of the special features of that is the ability to signal for help fast and get someone to come in and to rescue me. So it has a light.
Oh, wow.
It has a strobe. And when you put a strobe in someone's face, literally, their brain is going, stop the strobe, stop the strobe, stop the strobe. But it's effective.
Yeah.
It's very effective. The third, again, light and strobe, but it's all 1 click, 2 clicks. So it's very quick to activate. Faster than you can go in your phone and find the flashlight, you can do this. But third, if you, so 130 decibels of noise pollution, which attracts attention. So it is a very loud siren with light and strobe. Yeah, so, and then it has a button that if you press this big button, it actually activates the app and starts sending that silent SOS. Wow, so you can put it on your keys, your backpack, walk with it at night. But if you had these things, Thomas from the CIA told me, you're 87% less likely that someone will actually put their hands on you because you are better prepared, because many of these are crimes of opportunity. You're walking alone, someone wants what you have, and they want to bother you, and you look vulnerable. For lack of a better word, you look vulnerable. But when you put the light, the strobe, and the siren, they don't know what you have next. They don't want to see what's coming next. You're going to bring a gun, a taser, they will run off. So
Yeah.
that's the situation that doesn't happen. That's where we create our value, is if we can give tools that keep people from, one, walking down the wrong street, which is in the app, to knowing where not to go, to seeking good advice given by other members of the community, we can help prevent these types of incidents happening. But also to give the tools to be able to detract or stop a potential threat is really making people have a confidence mindset. And a success mindset is actually what the CIA call that, the success mindset. So we make very simple tools and technology that empower women and vulnerable people to live more effectively. And that's been my mission.
That's brilliant. So if you want to be the lucky winner of this product, Stephenie just told us a couple of minutes. You can go to the TEDx talk, comment below the talk, and tell Stephenie in her direct messages, so you can be the lucky winner.
Yeah, we're gonna send 50 of them. So the
What?
first 50 comments, and it's a great gift because all up it's probably a value of about 100 Australian dollars, because for the product and postage to wherever you are, it's a great little gift. But I want to empower everyone on this call to stay safe and to gift them for tuning in and joining you, us, we, and celebrating this. So for everyone who goes and leaves a comment, and then tells me in my DMs, so I can get their address and my team can do all of that. We'd love to.
That would be great. Well, Stephenie, for those of viewers that are coming from your page, I introduce myself as well. My name is Nadia. I came to Australia 4 years ago, studying here my second master degree, and I started this page to kind of share my thoughts and information, like all my experiences about living in Australia, being independent, and how is the building a life from the scratch all by myself. It's been a good journey, and I have many people are following me on this page, which is great. I've made a lot of good friends. All the people who are watching this live at this stage. And one thing that I want to ask you in this live about this is that because many of my followers are either in the beginning of the journey for immigration, or they already immigrated, or they want to, it's like they're in the transition. So, and I know that you're also coming from the same background. You are also a brand. I want to ask you, what is the good takeaway that you want to share with my followers, that how to tackle with challenges, how to tackle with the times that we find ourselves so vulnerable and we don't know what's gonna happen next?
That's a very good question. What to do to address challenges, and I think that comes down to resilience, Nadia. Really, there's nothing in me that is not in you or anyone listening to this call or sitting in on this chat. I am made of exactly the same things as everyone else, and everyone has the same capabilities to dig deep in these moments of uncertainty. And I can tell you that uncertainty is the one thing I can promise. I can't promise the interest rates, employment, blah, blah, blah. I can't promise it's not going to rain tomorrow. But, as much about what my TED Talk talks about is agency. And agency is our ability to frame and put our lenses on as to how we see life. And this is one thing that is uniquely a human right. Like, no one can strip you from it. They can take away your personal liberty. They can take away your identity. My doctor, who came from from the Middle East, Dr. Manjid Al-Muderis, who's my surgeon. He was in jail for a year in detention in Australia. He had to decide whether he would be a victim or whether he would be a hero. And, we all in our story, in our lives, in our situation, have the ability to choose what lens we want to see from. And, if we want to feel sorry for ourselves, it's very easy. But in my view and in my journey through, the last 3 years of losing my legs and hospitalization, coming to Australia was easy. Becoming an amputee was hard. Learning how to live on the other side of death is probably, in my opinion, much harder. And it taught me a lot more. But what I learned is, when you look, decide that you are going to be the hero of your story, you can, and in surrounding yourself with a good community of people. I was very to help me during my time of crisis, and I'm surrounded by beautiful friends, and that is what helped me to get through all of the challenges of being alone in a pandemic, in hospital, etc. So I went through a great series of greater challenges than immigration, but I'm an expat in Australia, and Australia is not an easy country to live in. If you're a foreigner, you have to find your own lane. You have to find your friends. You have to find people who share your passion and your interest. So, building a network, and you have to be brave. You have to be very brave, to try new things, to be willing to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And you have to know.
I always say that.
Yes, you have to know that the universe conspires with you. So you always have to have faith that the universe is actually helping you get where you need to be. If you have a challenge, the universe is not trying to take you down. It's actually helping you to build the bridge to where you need to go. So, you have to trust the process. You may not be able to see the end of a challenge, but focus on where you want to be versus see the roadblock, see the obstacle, see the goal. Always focus on the goal and not the obstacle, because you will go where your vision sees. And if you are focused on the problem, you're going to go right to it. It's like driving. If you see the tree, you're going to hit the tree. If you focus on the road, you're going to stay on the road. Life is the same way. And I make the analogy about the rain, because it's a beautiful analogy. When it's raining, we can do one of a few things. We can complain about it. Oh my God, the rain is terrible. It makes my hair flat and, blah, blah, blah. I get wet. We can get an umbrella and get on with our business. We can go, oh my God, it's so hot. I want to go dance in the rain. It's so much fun. Children, they see rain in a completely different lens. It's mud puddle time. It's a party, but, or we can ignore it and stay in our house and push it aside. We cannot stop the rain, but we choose to decide how we feel about it. And, that is what agency, that reference to having a sense of agency is that we ultimately decide how we feel about what is going on in our life, and we alone can choose how we react to things. We can't stop them, but we can decide how we want to address them and how we're going to see them and how we're going to frame them and what we're going to do with them.
Neda is also put a very nice comment. You are one of those that I can listen to the podcast all day.
I think she was talking about you.
No, we are all big fans of you, Stephenie. I can listen to you for hours and hours without feeling any tiredness. It was a really interesting point of view. It's all about what's happening in our head. And sorry. I turned the camera. So yeah, I think it's about our perception, and life gets in our way, but how we deal with situation is all that matters. Yeah, I feel like that's the greatest thing that everyone can give us. And immigration or any kind of challenges, facing the big challenge with your life is definitely life is the most precious thing that we have. And when you pass through this challenge with this we're having a good perception of life, having a good perception of what's in front of you. So it means that we can just pass any challenges with the best way possible, in the best way possible, just with having a good perception.
But
Thank
it's also about you knowing your purpose, though, Nadia, because being aligned in purpose means that you are far more prepared to take the bumps in the road when you know where you're going. And I especially with young people, um, that who don't have their purpose aligned. They don't know where they want to be. They're kind of like rolling around in the surf, in life's giant ocean without having a reason to be there. And with finding your purpose and knowing what you want to do, I often get asked, because I'm a startup entrepreneur, why do I do what I do? And being in startups is very hard, because
you.
you have to be brave, you have to raise money, you have to convince other people to go on your journey, you have to go through a lot of hard work, like toil, like labor, like having a baby, to get what you want. And it's never easy. The road is very littered, and that's why a lot of people can't do it. But in working in startups, knowing who you're going to help and why, and having a sense of purpose, is the beginning of clearing the path to understanding. So I would say that finding your purpose also helps to seeing the challenges not as incredible, but also teaching moments, like learning moments. Like, okay, in every situation, you're either the teacher or the student. It's up to you to figure out in every situation, which one are you? Is someone here to teach me something, or am I there to teach them? In every obstacle. But when you hit the difficulties, like when I was in my medical recovery, and the doctors kept saying, we're going to try to find to solve your feet, to help you save them. Every time we would hit a no, there would be one more time, one more week. I went in hospital February 15th of 2020, and I did not leave until July 5th. And I did not know 1 week to the next when I would get to go home. This was during the pandemic. This was during lockdown. I could not have anyone come visit me. I went for months without even being able to go outside and see the sky and see a bird. That was like worse than jail. But I
Yeah.
didn't, and I didn't know, how long am I going to be here? Who can tell me when do I get to go home? No one could. So, in going through these great periods of uncertainty, to have to find the faith, in your heart, to believe, okay, everything happens for a reason, and I look back on those long months, like very hard months. But I don't know, while the rest of the world was going through the pandemic, this was a bridge. The universe was building me a bridge. But if I was out of hospital when everyone was uncertain and going crazy about lockdowns, would it have been harder for me? Maybe in hospital I was better, I was safer there, versus being at home with no help, no family, in a foreign country. The being in hospital was kind of a blind blessing. Although it was lonely, it was my way of staying safe, and also, surviving. I didn't like it, but it was probably the best thing for me. And I didn't know it. No one knew it was going to be months and months and months of lockdown. But in looking at it, that's probably what saved my life. So I have to, look at, retrospectively, they say hindsight is 2020. When we look over our shoulder, life gets clearer. We can see the path. But, being able to trust that you are right here, right now, for a reason, and everything happens for a reason. And having that sense of inner calm, the inner calm inside, to know that everything is going to be okay. You're
Yeah.
exactly where you need to be. That I think is the truth and the value of experience that I had, that I would, leave with others, to say, if you have uncertainty, don't run from it, sit in it.
Looking
Because,
at.
yeah, if nothing lasts forever, this too shall pass,
Yeah. This too shall pass.
This too shall pass. If you're going through a problem, keep going, because you're going to get out the other side. Stopping only puts you in stagnation. Change is part of life. We shed our skin every so often. We go through, exfoliations of our body. Our body loses its cells and regenerates. Change is constant. That's part of what we are as Homo sapiens. But, to stop and in fear, freeze, we don't accomplish anything. We just stand still. The universe keeps moving. We're just the ones that are not going. So
Yeah.
in being flexible and in flow, to say, I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to be believing that everything is going to be okay. That's faith.
Someone said sometimes it's not easy. It wasn't supposed to be easy.
No,
Change
where
is
much
all,
is given, much is required.
yeah, and we need to change to grow. So and it's
Yes,
always
but happiness is a construct. And I don't know who put it in our head that we think we are supposed to be happy every minute of the day. We're never supposed to cut our finger or stub our toe or get a blister or experience, extremes, tired, hungry, thirsty, heat. Like that's complete. That's a made up idea that we think we are supposed to be happy. That's not true, because it's in our pain that we learn the greatest things. When I look at going through 400 and X amount of days, 38 operations, losing my toes, losing my heels. Your feet are the end of your nerve endings. Think about how great a foot massage feels, and then cut all your toes off. It is pain like you cannot imagine, honestly. And how do you make sense of that? How could I sit and reconcile that? But you know what I learned in the pain? I learned three things. I learned one, I learned how strong I am. And now you can bring anything to me. You want to take my arm? Take my arm. You want to cut my leg off? You can take my leg. You know what? You cannot kill my soul. That's what I know. You can't touch my soul. So in what I learned from that experience, it's very powerful. Two, I learned who my friends are, because who showed up and supported me during this time is, it was enlightening to learn who would stand with me, who would be there with me. And three, I learned not to sweat the small stuff. And everything happens for a reason. So when things aren't happening when I think they are, I don't stress about it anymore. I don't get upset about the little details that don't work. I'm like, if it doesn't work, it's not supposed to work. When it's right, it will work. So it's changed my whole life lenses on how I see life now, going through this incredibly difficult time. So how much did I grow that I needed to grow by this experience? A significant amount.
when you mentioned about pain, I had a story. I think I was reading it on LinkedIn. Um, a very successful businessman, the habits that he's taking cold showers at 5 a.m. every day, and that he believes that helped him to be very successful. And the first reason that he mentioned was because of the pain, because every day, every morning, then when he goes, like he decides to go through this amount of pain and shock his body with the cold water, he remind himself that, okay, yeah, I can go through this pain, and I decided also to go through this pain so I can conquer any other challenges that come in my way throughout the day. So pain also gives us a lot of lessons. And what's your point of view about this? Taking cold showers early in the morning.
Well, one, it's not me, I can tell you.
Oh, me too.
A lot of people like just know I'm not there yet. I've experienced pain in other ways, and I'm in touch with my pain. Like, I do a lot of things, and my pain thresholds are pretty high. And I just had a hip replacement 5 weeks ago, and it was
Oh,
incredibly painful. Yeah, yeah, I went back to hospital today. So I'm in, week 5, just been 1 month, and it's been, really challenging and really painful, and the recovery is slow. But, I see pain, and I don't sit and wallow in the pain. I acknowledge I'm in pain, but I don't let it run me. I can say, yes, it hurts, but I'm not going to sit here and cry about it and not do things. I just push myself through it and get on with things, because I learned that you can either do one of two things. You can either sit in the pain or not. And some people who haven't experienced such extreme trauma, need to push themselves. This guy's probably never had his toes cut off. So he
yeah.
needs to do things like jump in ice water to make himself feel strong. I don't need to do that. I know exactly what pain feels like, but I'm not a big fan of cold.
It takes a lot of courage to just live through the pain.
Mhm. Well, I mean, we make choices, and everyone says to me, I don't know how you did it. And
You're
I said, but
Lady. You're doing excellent.
But as I said before, I believe that everything that is in me is in everyone who's listening to the sound of my voice. You have exactly in you what I have in me. I'm no different. If you go on my timeline right now and you see my picture, for everyone who hasn't, you will see what my legs look like. I don't hide it. I am blessed that I can walk. And this was because of, the grace of God and modern medicine. But it's not easy. It's not easy to, grow up one way and then lose your legs and have to adjust to everything being different. But I'm still here. So I choose not to be a victim, and I choose to be, a hero in my own story. And we all have the ability to be the hero in our own story. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have challenges. It doesn't mean that pain is not going to be there. It's just that we choose to see that we can get through it and have the faith to keep going. And that is perseverance. But if I guarantee you, Nadia, if your back was to the wall and you were living through this and it was live or die, you would choose life, as everyone else would too. And when you have to fight for your life and fight for your limbs and fight for your mobility, I want to get up and I want to walk again. No, I don't want to lie in this bed forever. This is not how I was born. You'll find that you can dig very deep. You may never have had to dig deep before, but when you are there, it's like stories of mothers whose children are trapped under a car and they can pick up the car like a superhero. How do they do that? It is the will in them that is bigger than the limitations of their mind. And we all have that capability to tap into that supernatural in us, the magic in us, the power that we don't have to reach on a daily basis, just going along. But when that moment comes, when you have to dig really deep and your survival depends on it. I'm a single mom. I have a teenage son. I mean, he needs me. So I had to survive to take care of my child. And that was my driving will, was not so much about me and my will, but, to be here for him and to see him grow up and be successful and be healthy and happy. My why was very much about being everything I could be for him.
Thank you so much, Stephenie. It's always amazing to listen to you. I keep thinking about the things you said every time we have a conversation. Like the next 2-3 days, my brain is just processing, keeps saying all you said. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. I had lots of fun, and I highly recommend everybody to go to Stephenie homepage. Click on the link on the bio and watch the TEDx talk. It's amazing. Lots of things to learn from you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Stephenie, actually, before I let you go, I also want to ask you about your book.
Yeah.
Yeah. I later realized that you also wrote a book. Tell us about it.
Well, it's in its final stages of production. And it's called Thank You, Mrs. Carter. And if you watch my TED Talk, it explains the origin of the title. But when I was in hospital at the early stages of waking up from the coma, I had a little help with my recovery. And that help that came from out of nowhere, and the most random inspiration became the main thing that helped me and inspired me to get stronger every day and stronger every day and stronger every day. So my book, Thank You, Mrs. Carter, will be released later this year. And it's a memoir about extreme trauma and recovery through loss, amputations, and losing my feet, and becoming once again strong. And my journey through that process as a middle-aged woman, in a pandemic, in a foreign country, surviving insurmountable medical odds when doctors said I would die and I'm still here, what that meant for me and how I did it.
I can't wait to read this. Please let me know once it is released, and I publish it in my page as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephenie, for your time. It's a most precious commodity that man can't buy. And it was really lovely to chat with you.
Well, it's my pleasure. And just thank you for everyone who tuned in, who listened to my story, who, feels inspired. If you need inspiration, by all means, ping me, send me a DM. If I can help you with your journey, either in technology and startups or in motivation. But I publish a lot on my timeline and in my stories about recovery and my journey. And if it can inspire you, then by all means, that's what we're here for, is to hit that billion life impact, Nadia, by 2025.
Can't wait to see that.
Yes. And I can't wait to send to everyone who was listening and who watched the TED and left me a comment, a beacon. So, for everyone that does that and
I'll announce
50,
it.
yeah, that's a little incentive, but we'd love to equip, those who are listening and watching as a little gift from me to you with a Wander Safe Shakti beacon. So thanks for everyone who tuned in tonight. And yeah, Nadia, I look forward to catching up with you real soon.
Yeah, sure. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephenie Rodriguez. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.